Are you in a part of town where parents don't value the education of their children as much as they should? And as a result, they're not lining up their kids for that. Or maybe it's the case that the parents who were able to grow up and apply for the schools in the first place are the parents who have the flexibility and the time to go. But if I'm working two jobs, 2 jobs a week to put food on the table, maybe I can't sign up my kid for the school because I have to miss a day of work. And so these are some of the challenges. So here's something that works on a very small scale, but then the question is, can you scale it? And if you scale it, will there be demand for it as well too? And so these are some important kind of caveats. And this, so we're in the part of the course where we're starting to think, we've developed this ability to think like economists, and now we're trying to bring it to real world solutions to, or interventions, I should say, as opposed to solutions to the marketplace for education. And then we want to understand, okay, how do we measure whether they work or not? And then secondly, how do we think about whether they can scale? So some problems with charter schools. You need to find teachers who are willing to work long hours. And then the other part of it too is that there's a very high teacher turnover. Right? High teacher turnover. 40% by turnover would mean people take the job. 40% for new teachers. 5% overall. And can you guys see this line here? You can, okay. And then there's this issue of charter schools just attracting good students. Question?
What is the meaning of cream scheme?
Oh, okay. So like, let me explain in terms of cake. So if you have cake and you put the icing on top of the cake, you might have everyone likes the icing because that's what's sweet. Imagine if somebody just came and they just like licked all the icing off of the cake and they just like left the cake. The only reason why you want to eat the cake is because you want to get the icing. So when we bundle the icing and the cake together, people eat the icing and the cake. All right. Now the whole idea of cream skimming is that like the good stuff will rise to the top, and if you just take the good stuff off at the top, what's left is the bad stuff. And so in this case, if charter schools are just attracting the really best students, then what's happening is the overall picture may not be getting better because those students that have been doing well anyway. And so they're just taking the best students out of the public system and they're making the public school system worse. Does that make sense? Okay, do you have a follow-up question? Say it again.
I guess like we don't understand that.
So
Just a concept. Cream scheme.
it would be like, okay, let me use a tennis analogy then.
How about the milk? Huh?
What's that?
Milk.
Okay, you can use the milk. That's
Milk from a cow, you put it in a bucket, and it separates. How then it can be used for all the food tasting stuff, you know, like top, just get that cream off the top and make really good stuff out of it. What's left, you use this.
So you're saying that the cream scheme, let's say with something. The cream scheme is like the bad students that are going to charter school?
No, the cream skimming is that the good students will be going to the charter school. So like if we looked at charter schools as trying to, thank you very much. I didn't go to that. So, that's a true story. So the whole idea is that these charter schools are having all of these really great results. What happens if they only attract the best students? Are they going to increase the overall picture? Potentially not, right? Because these good students would have been good anyway, but you're just taking all the good students and putting them into one bucket. That's the basic question. So charter schools are just attracting the good students and leaving weaker students. And so it may not have such overall positive effect. And something like this would be really exacerbated if can you see the bottom there? I know I went pretty low.
Yeah.
You guys are back there, okay. So I just have, charter schools are just attracting the good students and leaving the weaker students in public schools, so they may not have an overall positive effect, right? And if we go back to the unit that we had on peer effects, if we think that we're in a model where we have like one shining light in the classroom that benefits everybody, right, then this could be like a very huge problem, because we take all the really great students and we concentrate them together, and we leave all the weak students in the public schools, and then the public schools seem like they're a lot more worse. And then what we say is, well, oh, we just need more charter schools, because if we have more charter schools, then these charter schools will be really great. But then when we have more charter schools, we're actually putting like really bad students in the charter schools, and the charter schools actually have no effect, because what they're really doing is they're cream skimming. Does that make sense? So this is the kind of way that I want you to be thinking about these kinds of policies where, yes, it might be good in a small amount, but as you scale it, like you'll actually scale it.
What if having the lottery though, out of,
Yeah, no, say that again.
what if having the lottery though, like, take away some of that creativity?
And how would the lottery take away some of that cream skimming effect?
Like,
That's exactly right. That's exactly the point. So the lottery is gonna reduce some of this cream skimming effect. But when does the lottery kick in?
don't like, there's still like the aspect of like the people that really want the education are the ones that are like putting in all the effort to like enter all these different lotteries. Because it's so difficult to even get into the lottery.
Right. And so this is great. I mean, like, this is exactly where I want you guys to get the end of this course, right? Which is where, okay, so we come up with this objection, and then we say, well, no, we're randomizing, and so we really are, it's not as bad as we might think it is, right? Because we compare the winners and the losers. You're exactly right. And you're also right, too. Because when we think about the lottery is saying conditional on applying, or given that you apply, we can compare those two groups. But what do we make of the people that are not applying? Are they different in some way from the people who are applying, right? And then if they are, then it could very well be the case that this is still a problem, but it's less of a problem for exactly the point it be. And so we have to deal in this kind of a nuance. And then we also have to think about, well, how many schools are actually oversubscribed? Because if schools aren't oversubscribed, then we don't get to the lottery. But if schools are oversubscribed, then we do get there. And so like this kind of a reasoning is something that could very well be in the test, right? Like, how do we reduce cream skimming in this particular context? Like, under which circumstances would you see it, et cetera, et cetera. So really good job, guys. I'm going to talk about vouchers. Any other questions about this before I talk about vouchers?
Are we gonna have time to go over topics for the exam?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't leave you guys hanging. Because the basic. In fact, what I can do is I can tell you that right now, and then we can go back to virtuals. Okay. So the structure of the exam is going to be very similar to the midterm. So there will be a section that has short answers / true or false questions. And then there will be 3 extended questions. So the short answers can come from any part of the course. And there will be things like knowing certain definitions or being able to apply those definitions. Or I might give you a specific problem where I say, here's this verb, here is the production function. Is the profit maximizing? price X, or like profit maximizing price is X, true or false. And so it might actually require you to do some work, but at the end of the day, it's just a true or false answer. So we may need a number of those sorts of things. And there will be short answer questions that, where there's like a larger question, and it's kind of like a couple parts that are all going to relate to the same question, right? And in particular, there will be a question that comes from like game theory, that on the short answers, that's going to have you think about like how do you compute the best response functions for a given firm, right? Okay, so that's the short answers. Any questions?
What topic will the plot with different sections be?
That will
Or
be,
plotting?
that can come from like either the game theory part, that'll be game theory, and then also like understanding how to solve using the margin. So those two things that you should deal with. Any questions on that before I move on to the other parts? What we'll talk about.
This is gonna be another month.
Once again, it's going to be comparable to the midterm, the level. Okay, and then there are going to be 3 extended questions. So one is going to be on school finance and TBU sorting,
School finance and
and TBU sorting. Yeah,
What sorting?
we talked about this.
No, what are you saying? What?
TBU, T-I-E-B-U.
Okay.
How do you pronounce it?
I don't know, I just don't know how to spell it.
Okay. So this is exactly the topics that we're talking about, right? So school finance and how parents make choices about what schools their students go to, their children go to. There will also be a question, an extended question on peer effects. And so in this course we went through this, that's sort of peer effects for randomized roommates. And then I also had you read the setup to Sassodo's paper on Hurricane Rita, I think it was, where you had students leaving New Orleans, leaving an area 4 because of the effect of that hurricane, and then being basically like randomly assigned to the school district and seeing what was the effect of these new peers on others. And so with that particular, yes,
Sorry, what did you say the author of that paper was?
this Sassodo. Yeah. So that paper I printed out and gave to you, or sent to you, and asked you to put the introduction for that. But like understand like the peer effects we went through in like a very detailed way to talk about what were the contextual effects, what were the peer effects, what were the other types of effects. So you need to know and be able to differentiate between these guys. If I give you, for example, like a table from that paper, and I say, okay, the idea is to figure out like what's the effect of like peer score on your GPA or something like that. You can interpret that, right? So something that can be in that genre. We went through this in very heavy detail in that class. We actually went through that specific paper from the beginning to the end. So something on that order. You also need to know what are the different types of peer effect models. And so that's more kind of informational, like what's the boutique model versus the shining light model, and what would they predict, right? Because I could very well ask you a question, like if you thought that this was the type of peer effect that was going, like how would you want to organize students, right? Given a certain collection of students. So that's the peer effect question. Any questions on that? Questions? Okay. And the third question will be on unions and occupational selection. So the Boyd model that we talked about. So you have teaching, and then you also have this outside option. Who chooses to be teachers? How is that influenced by the relationship between like your wages and your skill level as a teacher. And so this is going to be a case of occupational selection. And then also that's going to be tied into the discussion that we had in class of value-added models, where we think about the teachers of measuring teacher quality by how much value does that teacher add to the student. So like having had this teacher, like how much does the student's educational outcomes improve by? And for that question, you should be able to do some kind of a present value analysis. Like if I say, okay, this is the value that this teacher is going to add to the student, how much should we be willing to pay this teacher under certain circumstances, etc. And so the example that you had from the midterm, that would be like very instructive. So you can expect something of that level, not harder, but certainly at that level from the midterm. And so that's the third question. Are there any questions? Second. The second was peer effects. Any questions on that?
I do have a question about like comprising all of the articles that we read. I feel like there's so many that were just like emails and everything. So could you like send a list of the important ones, or if there's any like you need to focus on every single one that you send out?
Okay, so I can tell you which articles are important. So for the peer effects, one, so you have the two Saturday papers. So the one that's on, I think it was Hurricane Rita, and then the other one that was on the darkness roommates. And then the lecture notes are going to be extremely instructive too, right? Like, and for the second one, which is going to be on value-added models, and that's going to be on the Hawksby paper that we went through in class in a very detailed way. We talked about what's the regression specification, there are fixed effects, and how do we get rid of the fixed effects? There's a time trend, how do we get rid of the time trend? So you should be able to go through that kind of analysis to really tell us what methods you use to estimate what's the effect of, say, for people spending on student outcomes, for example. And that will rely a lot too on what you did with your projects. Right? So you should be like very familiar with that as well. The way that I will test things will be a lot more in terms of your understanding. It's not going to be about remembering like specific like facts from that article per se. Okay. So for the school finance and the T-blue sorting, what I'll do is I'll send you an article that describes the Robinson program in Texas that we went over in class last week. So you can kind of like look at that to get a sense of the structure of the program. For the school finance stuff, like we went through the formulas for the different types of ways in which a state can fund education. And then we also talked in a very detailed way about how this can unravel. And so you need to be comfortable with those arguments that we talked about in class. So I'll send you that specific article so that you can read about that. But we've definitely covered that. We've covered the main concepts in the lecture. The way that I test material is I really want to develop thinkers, not just people that can memorize facts, right? But it's really about your ability to think, your ability to have a command of the key ideas, and then to be able to apply them. So if you follow the lectures and you've done the readings, you should be able to do well in the midterm. And I'm going to get to you in a second. And the way that I design the exams is so that you can succeed. We have a flat grading system, and so like if all of you get over 90, all of you get over 85, you'll get these class. So it's not a generalized question.
Where can we access the videos for the lectures?
So the videos for the lectures are on Canvas. Do you have access to the Canvas?
In like files, then it's like lecture notes and then lecture videos, and then you have to click on a Word document, and then the Word document has the YouTube links.
Okay.
Or you can just search Jane Grant.
Okay. I didn't realize it was on campus. Kind of seeing them only.
So the lecture notes are on Canvas, and all of the articles that we've sent out to are also on Canvas as well too. The reason why I sent like the articles and the emails is sometimes I felt, like as a student, I found it really helpful just to hear the professor send it to you. Because if you have this extra layer to it, you may click and read the wrong article or something like that. So that's the basic layout for the final. Are there any questions?
Not specifically the final, but will we have the project rated before the final?
So yes. So I gave an extension until Tuesday at 5 p.m. for people to hand in the projects, just so that you can have that additional time. If you give me a week, I'll be graded with it. I'll be graded for the week. So by Tuesday, you should have your grades for that. So give me Tuesday 5 p.m., which is the deadline. A week from there, I'll give you guys your grades for that. Any other questions? And you know all of your grades so far in the course, right? Your homeworks and you know all of those. So you have
The project grades, those are on Canvas, right?
say that again?
The project grades?
No, the projects haven't been graded yet, because I just got them on Tuesday.
Like all three of them have been graded, or, so I feel like the first, is there's three?
Those grades are, they're on campus.
Maybe, I'll just
Which three? Oh, you mean the homeworks?
One of them was a big project, but it's still listed as an assignment, I think. It's like assignment 3 was the empirical project.
I'll double check and email you. I don't mind.
Yeah, email me a copy and copy Shannon of the two minutes. Other questions? Okay, what I'm gonna do is, I don't have too much to say about vouchers. What I wanna do is we'll take a little, okay, I'm just gonna have these out. I'd love to get your comments on the course. Just what were some of the things that you learned from the course? What are some things that were good? What are some of the feedback that you're giving in terms of the course for future people that will take the course? And then after that, I'll use the last 7 minutes or so just to close out with some of the headlines of what we know from projects. No, you don't have to. No, because I mean, like, can I erase this?
Sharon?